Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Objection podcast with, of course, myself. I'm Birdkeeper Toby, and joining me today is your other regular co-host. Take it away.
What's his name again? I forgot.
This guy.
Do you know what? Let's just end it right there. You know, like 1 minute into the first episode of the podcast, I'm done. I'm out.
You're dumb because I didn't remember your name. I actually have no idea who this person is, so he's going to have to remind me and everyone else listening in.
My name is Daniel Falcone, or known online as Falcone HS. I am a Hearthstone commentator. If any of you guys watch Hearthstone tournaments, you may recognize the sound of my voice because I'm often there behind the scenes talking over the gameplay, and I kind of like this guy.
You kind of like me. I want to ask you, how do you know me, Dan? Because I feel like I always describe it in really mushy, cutesy, lovely terms.
How do I know you?
How do you know me, Dan?
How do I know you? Well, one day we went to school together, and we actually no wait. This is one of the first times we met. We went to school together, and there was a Bring Your Own Games console day, and I was like, what, 14? You would have been like the year above me, so
15, 15, yeah.
And I just brought in my Game Boy and Pokemon, whatever, and you brought in your Nintendo Wii and Smash. And I really liked Smash Bros. Which one? Smash Bros. Brawl. And I came over to you guys and was like, hey, I'd love to have a go. And you were all like, oh, we're year 10s. Let's just trash.
Dumb kid. Stupid kid.
Just trash this kid. And then, if I remember rightly, I beat all of you.
That's true. You did.
There you go. There's the full story. That's how I know you.
So, I always say, this is my best friend of 10 years. You always go... Yeah, he was kind of an arse, and then I showed him what's what, and that's the story.
I just come up with some story, yeah. About that makes
it's cool. Actually, I feel like we did that a number of times because I remember before I even owned an Xbox, saying to you, "Oh man, I've just started playing Halo 3," or I guess I just started got an Xbox, and you being like, you were great at your Halo, and you were like, "Oh, I'm wonderful at Halo." You know, I'm sure you said it more like, "Yeah, pretty good, all right." And I went, "I can beat you." And then I'm pretty sure within the week I'd hopped on Xbox Live and joined you and just gone, "Why is everyone so good? I'm not this good."
Yeah, I mean, you picked the wrong game to try and compete with me.
I did. That was like your game.
In fact, I remember the first time I ever got drunk, we came back to my place, and you thought this was your chance to beat me at Halo, and I still trust you.
Yeah, you did. I remember that.
And I just want to point out, like, this is the sort of situation where I will be shouting out Twitch chat because someone said something I really agree with there. Nerd for You said, "True best friends constantly trash each other honestly." So there you go, Toby. It is a sign of affection.
I'm sure over the duration of these podcasts, I'll have ample opportunity. I'm sure you'll set yourself up. And so this is the Objection podcast. The name origins we won't go too deep into, but certainly relate back to where I think most people will know the word objection from. Phoenix Wright, one of the many games we've bonded over, and I think it's pretty relevant. I mean, we did come up with the name today. I think it's pretty relevant.
Like 2 hours ago? Like
2 hours ago.
Come on, we really need to think of
this.
something.
What do I call this new podcast? I think it's pretty relevant given that I think what we want the central sort of theme of this podcast series to be is the games we play and the media we indulge in and the films we watch and the series we're talking about. And I think that, you know, maybe we can give some recommendations to people as well as to each other potentially, and also video games are both of our jobs. You know, I do this Pokemon thing on YouTube. I've got as most of the people watching know, I've got my YouTube channel where I talk about Pokemon and I play Pokemon on Twitch, and I get involved in the Pokemon scene here in the UK whenever there's events going on and that kind of thing. And you have, you know, Hearthstone. How did you know, I think you got into doing video game stuff before me because I was vlogging.
Yes, in fact, again, I like telling stories like this. I was actually the inspiration for Birdkeeper Toby.
You were.
Put that
Credit.
out there because
Credit owned.
I started streaming Hearthstone after playing the game too much while I was at university, and Toby and me went to university together. And he saw what I was doing and was like, I'm really jealous. Like, you've turned this thing you love into something that could go somewhere, into some sort of career someday. He's like, I kind of want to do that myself. And then Toby started thinking of things he could base a YouTube channel on, and he got to Pokemon. So yeah, I'm going to take some credit for that.
Yeah, you should know. You should, because it was literally the conversation was, and I remember it. I was doing my vlogging channel for 2 years. I've been doing it. And I'd reached 1,000 subscribers, and I've always been interested in YouTube since our early days doing YouTube, and I've always been into that. And there was that moment where you were streaming Hearthstone, this video game that was now your favorite video game, and I went, man, wouldn't it be cool if I could just make videos about my favorite video game? Oh. Yeah, it's totally a viable option.
Yeah.
And that's
and I remember that it was one night we were on our way to a party at a friend's house at university. And I remember like going to that party with you, not spending much time there with you, and then heading back to our place from the party. And in the last like few hours, this little bit of an idea
Seed
blown up, and Seed, and you were like, yeah, and these are the potential names for it, and you were listing like I don't remember what they were, but
totally Togepi, Podgy Pidgey.
No, it was totally Totodile. It was totally Totodile.
Yeah, totally Totodile. That stuff. Yeah, no, I remember because it was very much like that Seed, and we were on the way to the party. I remember having this. All I spoke about that party was to anyone and everyone who'd listen was, this is what I'm gonna do. I think I just barked at our friends that, this is what I'm gonna do. This is brilliant. I love it. I'm gonna have so much fun doing this. And then by the time we were on the way back, I had the whole schematics for a channel. I was just, you could tell me.
But that's sort of you in a nutshell, really. Like you get this little idea, and then like within hours, it's exploded into yes, and I'm definitely gonna do this, and it's the best thing in the world. And,
for better or worse, that's happened on many occasions. There was the one recently where I said about going back to university. I thought, I'm going to go back to university, and here's why it's the best idea. I've thought out everything, I've looked at everything. And then, a day or so later, the gravity of the situation, either realizing that this is maybe not a plausible idea, or it is. But certainly that's how I tend to function.
Wait,
is I'll.
What was Podgy Pidgey? Was that something you said, or is that a Twitch?
Podgy Pidgey. No, Podgy Pidgey was a potential channel idea, which I think when I tweeted about it about a year ago, and said, by the way, this is one of the original channel ideas. I think a lot of people got some kicks out of it.
Which reminds me, as we keep getting sidetracked, have we mentioned since the podcast started, we do have a live audience. We have Twitch with us. You can.
Yes, if you are listening to this on iTunes, we stream this live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. GMT over on my Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/birdkeepertoby. If you are listening to this on demand, enjoy it. But if you are listening to it live, go ahead and hit some of those Twitch emotes.
Come on, let's have some cappers. Give us a capper.
Any of my own ones, yeah. Give us some cappers. Let's go.
If you're watching on demand on YouTube, you'll see the Twitch box above us. If you're watching live, obviously you can see it. If you're listening, then hey, you should check out Watch sometime. Obviously, we love the idea of people just listening as well. Like if you're traveling, listening to podcasts can be one of the best things to do, for example. But
there we go. There's the Twitch chat going. Right. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, podcasts are. Do you listen to a lot of podcasts? Because I mean, the only ones I've ever really tuned into.
Not so much nowadays, but in the past, like we used to both listen to all of the Rooster Teeth podcasts.
Rooster Teeth podcast. That was the one I love that show. I'm actually listening to one at the moment by another YouTube creator I really love called Julian Smith called Spellbound. Shout out to that podcast. I think it's he tends to have Julian Smith is like one of the first people who got monetization on YouTube. He was one of the first. He did the I'd rather eat Randy, that song.
Right.
I think you've heard of that and that kind of thing. Did these funny comedy sketches. He each week has on a different expert in a field, whether that's science or some kind of science, or like I think he had someone on the SpaceX program, or this week it's a lady who is very well known for her works in feminism, and they just talk for about an hour, and it's always really interesting and engaging. But yeah, Spellbound is a great podcast. Rooster Teeth podcast, of course, I love. It's just fun and funny.
I actually should listen to more podcasts because I'm traveling a lot at the moment, and sometimes like I've got to the point where when I'm on a plane, for example, like I've sort of run out of new songs to listen to. Like the way I sort of digest or enjoy music is that I'll listen to a song and then it will sort of add to my favorite playlist, and I'll only have a few in there, and I'll sort of listen to them over and over again. Then I get to the point where I've listened to them all so many times I don't really enjoy them anymore. Yeah. So really a podcast would be perfect to sort of fill that. Yeah, I should get back on that.
My headphones broke 2 weeks ago. I have not listened to a piece of music while walking about, while traveling in about 2 weeks. Very different experience, but surprisingly not missing it as much as I thought I would. But it's very different experience, because I think most of your downtime that you spend walking, you're used to listening to something and consuming some kind of media. But I think we're probably getting a bit sidetracked. We should maybe move over to what is the topic of today's podcast? That is video games of last year. We're very late on this subject.
Video games of yore. Yeah, we are a little bit. It's so the day of recording it is the 28th of February. So it's actually the 1st of March tomorrow, and so we're not quite the third month into the year. I'd say we're just about on time somehow.
But
let's get on to it. So we both. To be totally honest, we've sort of practiced this once already because
we have.
When we were when we were thinking, do we try a podcast? Don't we? We sort of did a practice one, like ourselves. We recorded it, but we didn't put it live anywhere, and we did the same topic. So we do know what we're going to talk about. We do know what we're going to say. We do know what each other's going to say, and we're not going to be totally strict with it. Like we say, best games of 2017. That doesn't
games we enjoyed.
Doesn't oh yes, our favorite games of 2017 doesn't necessarily mean that they came out in 2017.
No, sure. There's some of the games that came out at totally different years. I guess that's a good place to start, though. I mean,
but sort of the way gaming is nowadays, some of the games that people really get into are these games that just develop over time. I mean, World of Warcraft is sort of a classic one, right? Like an expansion can come out one year and it can be just as popular as ever. So,
I mean, when did World of Warcraft come out? Like 2000?
Even earlier, I think, but I'm going to have to
before the 1990s. And you think, like, you know, if you're playing World of Warcraft though in the modern day, you don't think, oh, they're playing a really old game. You just think they're playing the latest iteration of
2004, actually. So it was later than I thought. Yeah. But 14 years ago, we're saying.
Yeah. So, but you would still think of that as like a relevant game in today's, you know, scene, regardless of what other people might think.
Right.
You know. So I guess that's a good place to start is with a game that came out, I think 2 years ago or 1 year. I'm not sure, which was one of my favorite games of last year, which was Uncharted 4. Now, for context, I've never played an Uncharted game until I played Uncharted 4, and I played that with you, Dan. You had played it and said, "Come on, Nathan Drake is a very handsome man in a very good game with some awesome music," and that's entirely what the experience was.
10th of May 2016, so
2016.
Years ago,
so that came out in 2016, and I never played 1, 2, or 3, so I had you in my ear kind of filling me in on certain character points about his wife, about different elements, and I'm sure many people will say, "Oh my goodness, but you need to play the first 3 to understand, you know, to get the feelings of it." But 4 certainly as an individual story, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's made, of course, by Naughty Dog, who made The Last of Us, one of my favorite games of all time.
And Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter as well.
And
for you old timers in the chat like me.
Yeah. I absolutely adored it. I think Naughty Dog have got a really good way with games, where they don't hurry stuff out. They make stuff that is art, for lack of a better pretentious word. You know, they make stuff that is art. They make stuff that is a product that people will, you know, talk about and that kind of and they'll talk about it because it's good and not just because it's the latest installment.
I just love how we're talking about Uncharted, and chat has just devolved into this discussion about Crash Bandicoot and how much everyone loves it and misses it.
Well, that came out last year. I mean, or rather, the re-releases came out last year, and that's not something we particularly planned on talking about. But certainly, that was a game I remember you saying you really enjoyed last year. Was redoing those levels, and it was hard, right?
Oh man, that game. I mean, it didn't help that the remaster was harder than the original because of something that went a little bit funny in the design, like something like polygons being square rather than rounded, how they used to be, or vice versa, meaning that he'd fall off of surfaces more easily in the new version, which did make it harder than the original. Because a lot of people were saying, "Well, I don't remember Crash being this hard," and the truth is, it wasn't actually that hard before. It's now harder than ever.
I just remember you sitting me down with it. And I had that issue where there was that one level I'm trying to jump from platforms, and I'm like, why am I not hitting these platforms like I think I should be? And I think I'm sitting there, and many people are sitting there like, see, they don't make games like they used to. They used to be so hard, but actually it was just a translation error to the latest.
What's funny is that was literally, I think, the 3rd level in the game as well that put you on.
Yeah, I was like crying over it. But yeah, Uncharted was fantastic. Love the music. I've listened to that soundtrack more than I've listened to any other game soundtrack in this last year, apart from maybe some Pokemon ones. And yeah, I'm now playing Lost Legacy with you. I think I've got the last 2 hours of gameplay to play. We're hopefully going to play that tomorrow, as of after recording this podcast. And I'm looking forward to that, and I'm just looking forward to enjoying more of that wonderful world. And I hope that Naughty Dog wants that. I know they're busy on Last of Us 2 at the moment, which I'm also excited for. But I hope we get to revisit the world of Uncharted, and I know it's number 4 is meant as a final piece to the Nathan Drake story, but I hope to see more of Nathan Drake in some respects.
It's certainly just a phenomenal series. Everything about playing it feels good. The combat always feels so great. And again, my favorite thing about Uncharted is just the huge Hollywood scenes that really make you feel like you're in a Hollywood film, and you've got control of stuff. Mild spoilers for some of the older games if anyone wants to avoid this, but I'm sure it's no big deal now. But in Uncharted 4, there's the part where you're on the back of your brother's motorbike, and there's this huge truck chasing you, and you're just literally turning back, shooting at the thing, and there's this huge scene going on of you swerving around, and this truck just following you everywhere. And in previous games, like jumping on an airplane as it's taking off, and all of these crazy sequences that just make the game feel really quite special.
Something they did that was really well involved in that is there are, you can play certain sequences the way you want to, where you can stealth them, where you can go jump to fights and stuff. And because of the way that the visuals and the music all play together, and that feeling of, I think fun is the key word. A lot of games, when you're about to come up on a horde of enemies or whatever, sometimes you just want to get around them to the next cutscene. Maybe you run by them, or you jump over them. And I remember playing stealth bits of the game with you, playing it stealthily, and then going, "Oh, wait, no, I actually want to get into the fight, because it's not about getting to the next cutscene, because in many ways the game is the cutscene that you are in control. It's a story. It's a movie. But you are Indiana Jones. You are the action adventure hero.
But even saying that, the cutscenes are so powerful.
And they are those moments, the quiet moments. The moments of relationships between him and his brother and his wife and Sully and the enemies, even the villains, and understanding where they're coming from and what's going on with them. Characters are well crafted, and many of them have decent plot arcs, and it's nice. It's nice to see.
Right, well, let's move on. I'll make the next one a quick one. Also a game that didn't come out last year, and also a game which it'd sort of be wrong for me not to say, and I'm going to say Hearthstone is one of my favorite games of 2017.
Of course.
I'm going to say that probably every year, so just get used to it. 3 expansions came out last year. Journey to Ungaro, Knights of the Frozen Throne, and Kobolds and Catacombs. And just a lot of new content, a lot of new ideas. They added the idea of quests that you could play at the start of game and fulfill the conditions as the game went on and get a huge reward later on. They added new hero cards, where when you play this very expensive card, it would replace your hero and give you a new power and just feel very powerful. And there'd be new emotes if you wanted to talk to your opponent, and it was very cool. And then legendary weapons as well. Lots of new stuff happened last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing where Hearthstone goes this year. Last year was the year of the mammoth. This year, just announced yesterday, is going to be the year of the raven, and the promise of lots of new and exciting things. So I'm just gonna leave that one right there.
I think it's very hard to avoid Hearthstone, even if you're not a Hearthstone player. I remember, I played it with you a little bit in uni when you were getting into it, and I didn't quite draw to me, but it's still hard to avoid in that the online presence for, I saw pretty much all of the trailers for the new expansions last year, and Blizzard have this wonderful, the way that they craft those trailers.
The cinematics are great, aren't they?
The cinematics are great, and then there was the one you showed me where they didn't do a bit of music for it. Journey to Ungoro. And normally they do some music, and then they had the guy. Is it
Ben Brode? Yeah.
Is it what is he?
He's just what's his actual title?
He's just the face of the game, and he did this cool.
He's certainly the most famous person in the room of any Hearthstone. He's just game director Hearthstone.
Game director for Hearthstone, and it's really cool to see that kind of relationship. I guess it would be criminal if I didn't mention is Pokemon. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon came out last year, and they don't have that same kind of. Right. Sadly, they have some characters who pop up, but it's mostly in the Eastern world, in Japan. They don't really have a lot of sort of Western faces
Yeah.
officially under the Pokemon branch who are our go-to, our point
Well,
people who
it
really
helps the Blizzard is actually primarily based in America, so like
well, that's true.
there's less of a culture divide between the
Mm,
people that make the games and sort of Western audiences. But you're right when you say Hearthstone is hard to avoid. I mean, I go to a lot of esports events. I talk to casters for other games, and almost everyone has played Hearthstone at some point or plays it casually.
yeah.
Almost everyone I work with in video games, actually. So if you haven't given it a try, I do
Oh,
obviously
I recommend
it.
One of the
You might like
wonderful
it, you might not.
things.
It's free though, so
One of the wonderful things about it as well. I mean, if you play Pokemon, or you play the Pokemon card game online, or any other card game, the great thing about Hearthstone is it really takes advantage of the medium that it's on. They'll never print physical Hearthstone cards and make it a physical game. It wouldn't work because there are cards that summon random cards that exist. So like summon any wizard. What is it? Spellcaster wizard. It's
yeah, like there are mage
any
cards
mage,
that say
you know,
like
or-
Babbling Book. As soon as you play it on the board, a random mage spell is added to your hand.
right.
Now,
Mage.
imagine doing that physically. You'd somehow have to determine which spell to add to your hand randomly, and you'd have to have a copy of every single spell.
every
so that
single
you can
card to do
put it
that
in your
for.
hand. But obviously, on an
and
online
so-
game, you can just generate it. It just appears.
Yeah, and then they can, if a card's a little bit broken, just patch the text.
Yeah.
You don't need to. You just update the text. It's really incredible. But yes, I mean, Pokemon was also last year. I'd be probably scolded if I didn't mention it, and I did have fun with it. I did. I don't know who's scolding me. The chat, I guess. I had fun with it. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was an improvement on Sun and Moon, which that's all we were asking for. It was a quiet year for Pokemon, given that the year before was a new generation and Pokemon Go was going on and other jazz. But there was that little tease, that little mention for Pokemon on the Switch coming out, possibly this year, possibly next, more likely next, I think. And it's just, it's a placeholder. What I always love about Pokemon is new Pokemon, new regions, new stories. Ultra Sun and Moon provided a little bit of that, but and I enjoyed it and I loved it because Pokemon's my favorite franchise. But certainly, I wouldn't crow about it as much as some of the other games on this list. Speaking of which, do we have any others that are not gonna collide, that we're not gonna say the same thing?
I don't. Oh yeah. There is one more. There is one more.
Okay.
I will mention Destiny 2 as one of my favorite games of last year.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fun with it for a few months before it turned out the game was bad. The game's not bad, but it's just very repetitive because so for those of you that don't know what Destiny 2 is, it's a first-person shooter, but it's also sort of an MMO. So the idea is you log in every day, you play with your friends, you grind, you do some raids, play some PvP. And it's supposed to be sort of a long thing you play over time, and you get better and better gear all the time. The problem with Destiny 2, at least when I stopped playing, was that we sort of got to the end game, sort of unlocked all the best stuff, and then there was nothing new to do, there was nothing new to unlock. It was sort of like, if you want to keep going, start a new character, do it again. And unfortunately, that didn't quite cut it. PvP annoyed me because PvP is one of my favorite things in most games. I'm a very competitive player in most things that I play, and there was no sort of ranking system. There was no way of tracking stats. There wasn't even, like the old Halo games would have, for example, you could go online, you could see how many double kills you had.
That was
triple
great.
Kills,
That was great. I love that stuff.
Yeah, how many kills with each weapon overall, how many kills with each weapon on each map. Like, you could do so much with those tools, and there's just none of it there, and it kind of sucks. It's a shame, but
it's sad because it's same company.
Yeah, well, it's Bungie, yeah. The gameplay was very, very fun, though. It was very, very satisfying. Like, the first few months of playing, every time you killed an AI guy and his little head exploded, whatever, it just felt good to play.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Destiny is nothing I've ever gotten into. I don't think I've played more than an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe 3 tops of the first one. I've played 5 minutes, I think, of the second one. To me, it's just very similar. It looks very similar on the exterior to Halo, and I'm already invested in that world. And for me, the idea of I'm not interested in learning, and that's maybe quite cynical and closed off of me, but I'm just like, I'm not interested in learning the lore of, okay, are human dudes who are in the future. Some of them are part
To be quite
robot.
honest, I don't really care about the lore either.
There's, I mean, fair enough. I know there's a very rich lore, and I've got a friend, Livy, who streams it, and she'd be so annoyed at me for saying that, because she's like, oh my goodness, the lore is amazing.
The characters were cool in Destiny 2, like the voice actors, obviously. You had Nathan Fillion.
Didn't they retroactively take out Peter Dinklage?
Oh, in the first game? Yeah, they literally patched him out of it, replaced him with Nathan Drake. Nolan North, yeah.
I mean, fair enough. Peter Dinklage, man, he's great.
Apparently he's not great at just voice acting. Apparently that's
fair enough.
But yeah.
I'll tell you what, I saw him, little side tangent. I went to see the film 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, 2 days ago. And it was, it's one of those Oscar type films, and he's in there. And I gotta say, he's barely in it, but his acting is just, he's great.
Yeah.
He just does these little things that are so organic and human, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, that's great. I don't know. Anyway, total. Peter Dinklage love. He's great. We love Game of Thrones. So
the rest of our games, we believe, are overlap with each other at some point.
Yeah, I think so.
And
no. Actually, no. There's one more that doesn't. I thought there was one more that doesn't. For me, Zelda Breath of the Wild. I don't think it's quite on your.
It would, if I was to make like a longer list, it would be one of the next titles on mine.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it by any means. It's just not quite one of my kind of top 5, 6.
Yeah, I mean, well, it came out last year with the Nintendo Switch. It was the launch title, and I mean, there was so much. What I loved about this game was there was so much hype around it, but so little of the game had been revealed. I think before the launch, only really the Great Plateau had been shown off in any kind of press stuff, pre-press stuff. There wasn't a lot out there about what this game was going to look like, what bosses were going to look like, what the divine beasts or anything like that. And one of the downsides of the game is I think a lot of the game does look the same. There's like these little eco domes, there's a tundra, there's a desert, there's a volcano, and that's kind of cool. But obviously the shrine gimmick is wonderful at first, but also is a little bit of I think it's a little bit of an eyesore once you're into it. But there's no denying the gameplay is fun. It's enjoyable. You can just sit down, put 20 minutes of progress into this game, and say, yeah, I've had a good time. Whether you've been doing trials or shrines, whether you've been going off to the next great beast, or just exploring a new area. I think the way the shrines and even the Korok seeds work, there's a lot of reward for the sake of exploration, and it's got this big open map, and you can only see little sections of it with each tower that you've got. And that feeling of, I want to know what else is out there, and then getting rewarded for that in the form of unlockables and those shrines and that kind of thing is really great. I was watching, we both watched this YouTuber, Clean Prince Gaming, who just did a video about that exact topic, and shout out to him, he makes some great videos. But he just did a video about that topic, and he was saying what's even cooler about it is the game, very few games do this, the game gives you the tools to beat the game right from the get-go. From the Great Plateau, you can if you want. It'll be difficult, but you can if you want. Go and face Ganon and do all of that stuff. And that's a very unique thing for a game to do. So your reasons for exploring this massive open world are not based on, oh, you should, here's your path, you need to do this to get to the end of the game. It's very much based on how much time do I want to plug into this.
And I've always found open world games pretty difficult to an extent. And I'm not really sure why that is. Just, again, sort of growing up, I always preferred really heavily structured games like Uncharted, where almost, like, for example, Final Fantasy 13 is one of my favorite games from the past. And it was almost, the whole game is almost a corridor. Like, you sort of just run forward. And then at the end of it, it sort of opens up a little bit. But it was heavily criticized, actually, for being so sort of literally straight line.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind that at all. Like, I kind of like just going through a story that's given to me. And I also like competitive multiplayer games, like I said. And open world games, I don't know what it is, whether it's just that they seem too big, or I don't know where to go next, or maybe I just like structure. But I did really, really enjoy Breath of the Wild, obviously. I think anyone that didn't enjoy it at all is lying or just saying it because the game was too hyped and they're being annoying, they're being awkward.
Yeah.
And it's a game I really want to get back to. Like, I only ever managed to get through one of the dungeons. And I've been meaning to play it again for such a long time, but I'm sort of at that awkward point with the game where if I want to play it again, I feel like I have to start again, and I'm not really ready to start again yet. So just need to wait a little bit longer and then get back to that.
Oddly, I don't think you necessarily do need to start again. I think it's the kind of game where weirdly, I mean,
Maybe.
yeah, I completed it all, and then I restarted it on Master Mode when the DLC came out, and I sort of put it down, and 3 months later picked it back up, and just picked up from where I went off, and just went, oh, okay, I've got one Divine Beast, and I guess I'll go find the next one, and just went off on a little adventure, and rebuilding my love of that story.
Like, I feel like game developers, especially over the last few years, have just got this real thing for making these open world games as big and as vast as possible. And sometimes that really does go to their detriment. I mean, look at No Man's Sky. It's a game that was hyped so much as being this game that's infinitely big, and it's like, great, but there's nothing actually in it.
That's the point, and that's the point that Clean Prince Gaming made in this video, is if you're gonna do open world, you have to fill that world with stuff that people actually want. Boring collectibles that don't, help you in any kind of way. You need to fill that world with worthwhile stuff to find and explore and discover and visit, and give the player a feeling of, oh my goodness, I found this. I thought I was off the beaten path, and now I found this cool, interesting thing. And a lot of games, even Skyrim to an extent, and I love Skyrim, but a lot of open world games fill their open world with a whole lot of the same and a whole lot of nothing exciting to explore.
I think this just segues so perfectly into my second favorite game of 2017, which is also an open world game. It's also on the Nintendo Switch, but it's much smaller in scale, and I think, at least in my eyes, it's sort of like the perfect size. And if you haven't worked out what it is yet, it's Super Mario Odyssey, which...
Oh, of course. Yeah.
You hadn't worked out what that was?
No, sorry, my mind was... Yeah, okay. Go on.
Literally just one of the most perfect games I've played. A lot of the time, playing a game feels like effort sometimes, like getting from point A to point B and then doing it again. Maybe it's just me getting older and more cynical and more picky about what I'm playing, but Mario Odyssey never felt like effort from start to finish.
No, and it's that whole thing of like feeling like you're being rewarded for exploring.
Yeah.
And
when you first find out, oh my god, there's how many power moons in the game, and you're going to be getting like 20 per level as you first go through the game, you think, oh, maybe that's too much. But then, I don't know, it just feels right. Every time you get a hidden moon, it's got that quick little thing which shows you get it, and then when you get like a proper story one, there's the huge it felt satisfying to me every single time. The game was just fun to play physically, running and jumping around with Mario, taking control of the enemies, using Cappy.
Yeah, the different...
I don't know, it just felt so good all the way through.
It's a game that really rewards intuition, I think, and rewards your own ability to think creatively, because, the game lays out problems for you in this open world kind of way where the problems are only problems if you notice them. How do I get across that gap? How do I get over to that ledge in the distance? Is that an accessible thing? And you create those problems for yourself, and and every time you think you've broken the game and you've gotten outside the boundaries, you haven't. The game rewards you for clever you. Well done. And, you know.
And that's heavily a tool that's in there for speed running. Like there'll be these rooms, for example, one of the ones we're talking about, like you go through a warp pipe, you end up in this sort of tight maze-like area, and you're supposed to take control of bullet bills and whiz around the maze. What you can actually do is break the boundaries of the game. You can jump up, like do a wall jump on the wall, then throw Cappy, jump on Cappy, and then do a like jump and dive thing, and actually end up above the wall and just walk through the room. And the thing is, it may feel like a glitch, but there's a big pile of coins up there, so someone knew you were going to make it.
Someone knew you were going to do it. And often, I mean, what I loved is a lot of every room where there's like a little warp pipe to get into it, there's always two hidden power moons. There's the obvious get from A to B power moon, and then there's the did you get a little bit more creative power moon? and Mario, that game is a rewarding experience.
And I think it's the best of both worlds between open world and also structured, because each level is a level. They've just got sort of secret elements or open world elements. And that's sort of that's as open world as I really like a game in a perfect scenario. Like, you can just do the level, or you can explore a little bit, see what's hidden.
But it's such well-crafted game design in terms of it may be open world, but you know, okay, I'm at the bottom of the level, and there's a sort of hill, and there's something big and glowy at the top of the hill, so I guess that's the end point of the level, and you just very organically, there's never a point where you're like, I'm stuck. Where can I possibly go next?
Do you know what? Nerd for You in chat has reminded me that, Spyro the Dragon is exactly the same. The old Spyro games, level design very similar. You had the hub world, you had the levels. They all had secret areas. They all felt somewhat open. Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember playing Spyro 1 with you and getting up onto ledges of levels and thinking, oh, so we can just go anywhere now. But it turns out that's where some of the hidden gems are and that kind of thing. Very true. Very much the same.
You preferred Mario to Zelda, though, right?
Yeah, I did. It's weird. I feel like I should say Zelda because I love Zelda so much, but no, I preferred Mario. It's just a better structured game. They're both fantastic. I mean, we're both talking 10 out of 10 games, which for the Nintendo Switch, which came out last year, is a phenomenal way to start. What a launch! And on top of that, they also had re-releases or sequels to Splatoon, Mario Kart. I think there's Hyrule Warriors. Any good title on the Wii U just got updated.
I don't know if you saw, but the Rooster Teeth channel, made a video about how there should be a Smash game coming out this year. Apparently.
Yeah.
They said that there were rumors and things, and that's got me very exciting.
I've heard things. I can't say.
Okay.
I might, yeah. I might actually know things. I can't say.
I might actually know things.
I might actually know some things, but I can't say.
Anyways, I think that's one to be very excited about. According to that direct resource from there, you can find the video quite easily on YouTube. Whoever leaked this information has also said it's not only going to be announced this year, but also released this year. They don't know exactly what type of game it's going to be, though, whether it's going to be a sequel or just a remake of the DS and Wii ones or whatever, but yeah, very exciting.
It's exciting, and it's totally expected. I mean, people have wanted Smash on the Switch since the Switch's announcement, and it's such a good console for it. I mean, it's got the Joy-Cons. You imagine sitting around, you want to play Smash? Oh, I don't have a controller. Yes, you do. There you go, controllers.
Oh yeah, I mean, and you can totally do everything with the little Joy-Con controller. Like, it would. The
Switch is such a. I mean, MVP of gaming last year was the Nintendo Switch as a console, more so than any games. But what was the smart thing about it? And it's playing a whole different level to what Xbox and PlayStation were doing, where they released themselves and they had like no exclusives on them. The Switch came out and said, "This is our console, and we've designed incredible games for this platform. Now, and we're going to prove why other developers should want to work on this as well." And they did it wonderfully, and I'm excited.
I want to make final kind of word on Mario Odyssey here as well, and say, the kind of weird thing about it is it's a Mario game. The story doesn't matter, right? Princess Peach gets kidnapped, you go save her, whatever. But still, I teared up, actually physically teared up twice playing that game. I'm pretty sure it was the music both times that did it. Turns out that's what makes me tear up in films and music. It's not actually stuff happening. It's music.
It's just music,
powerful
emotive.
Music that just sort of takes control of my brain. But yeah, I'm gonna go over very, very mild spoilers for the game. There's the festival in New Donk City, where you go through, and it's all 2D moments, and you're sort of reliving the original Donkey Kong game, and it's got the Odyssey seat music playing, and it just, oh man, so good. And I was literally playing a 2D platformer at that point. It shouldn't have been as enjoyable as it was, but it really was. And then at the end of the game, just at the end of the game, like the very last moment, and again, I think it was the music, but after you do the final section, not going to say more than that, you do the final section, then there's that little cutscene, and then I think the game ends on one last dun 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 dun, and just the very last note, and then the credits started rolling. I was like, oh my god, that was.
You don't want this
and,
to be
and
over.
I think what prompted that final emotional response was simply the fact that, yeah, okay, there are games on this list, or one game on this list specifically that I enjoy more overall. There are games on this list that I enjoy more for kind of more powerful single reasons. But Mario Odyssey is the single most perfect complete package game that I've played in a long, long time. It's just the closest to perfect that I've seen a game, I think.
No, I can agree with that. I think that they must have worked with psychologists on this game just to work out the behavior of people and how does addiction work in relation to if we give them a star and then we give them this hidden area. Do you think they'll keep going for another half hour? Because I was hooked is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to stop. Like, and again, I try and save my handheld games because traveling, I like to save them to play on planes and in hotel rooms and things. But I was at home with all of the other options. I could play any game I wanted, and I physically could not tear myself away from Mario Odyssey.
And, you know, this is the thing. There are great games like Uncharted, like The Last of Us, that are these fantastic stories, right? There are these games where you can go online and get progress, like Destiny or Halo. Mario, you know what a Mario game is before you play it. You know it's Mario, saves the princess, gets some collectibles, it's colorful, right?
Yep.
So purely the focus on this game and the reason that it was so addictive was gameplay. Just it is in all ways possible game. It's the game. It's the game part of the game that is what makes it so incredibly fun to play. I just think it's a real testament to game development and making in general, and the people who worked on that just came together. And like you say, they created a near perfect package.
Now, if my maths is correct, there are 3 games left on both of our lists, and they're all shared for both of us, I believe.
2. Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Okay.
Should we go with what I assume is the smallest one first?
What, the honorable mention?
Honorable mention, which is Halo Wars, right?
Halo Wars 2, yeah.
Halo Wars 2, yeah. That's a game. So when I was at Summer in the City, I was doing a gaming panel with some other game channels, YouTube channels, and that kind of thing. And they were talking about their favorite game of the year, and without doubt, everyone was saying, "Oh, PUBG." This was in August. This was in the summer. Yeah. I was like, "Oh, Public Battleground." I know, right? PUBG. This is the best game that's possibly out there that's ever been created. You know, whatever. And I'm just there like, well, I don't want to be boring and say the same thing. And just a weird little honorable mention, Halo Wars. And what made Halo Wars 2 so much fun is not that it's it's not the best of its genre out there by any means. It's a very accessible member of its genre. Like, I don't play those games a lot. What are they? They're real-time strategy. I don't play a lot of RTS games. I don't play any RTS games. Incredibly accessible game. But what made it fun was we just played it every night, you and me, for... Yeah. Month.
We didn't even finish the story. We just learned sort of the competitive side of it, learned how to play some characters, and together, hooked up our microphones, played every single night for 1 month, maybe two.
Isn't it great? Wasn't it great? You build a base, and then you're like, okay, now make a resource pad, and now we'll make
there's this guy here. Let's push.
Yeah, he's scouting. Let's push, and that level of coordination. I think that goes to show that a game doesn't necessarily have to be, and it's not that it wasn't a good game, but a game doesn't have to be some AAA title for you to necessarily enjoy it. I'm sure Halo Wars 2 had its critics.
It's not going to be making it on any top 10 list. And as I said, neither of us completed the story. It was just we enjoyed that game because we played it together. And I don't know, personally, I looked forward to playing that every single day. I was looking forward, come on, Toby, when are you going to be available? When's it Halo Wars time?
Yeah, no, me too. And I think it only stopped because of travel and work and that kind of thing, and on both of our ends. And it was all your fault, Dan. You had to go and get employed by Blizzard and other companies. I think we just both got busy. But it's interesting because we played the original Halo Wars in much the same way for a decent period of time as well. And it's nice to know that just when the next Halo or Halo Wars, the different games, occasionally a game can come out like that where you just find a friend, grab a friend, and go, this is us for the next month. Every night, let's just spend an hour, 2 hours doing this. Have a blast. And that's how friendships are forged in the first place, isn't it? Yeah.
There's someone who I play another game with very regularly right now is in chat trying to spoil what my number one game of the year is going to be. But we'll get there soon. We'll get there soon.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
That's about all we've got to say about Halo Wars, I guess.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Games are fun with friends. Find friends, play games. It's good.
Now
good
the next
time.
one, which for me is the because I've sort of got them in some sort of order. For me, is third place, and it was first place. In fact, when this game came out, it was my favorite single player game I ever played. Mario Odyssey just kind of came out and not smashed it to pieces, but like I preferred it a little bit. But Resident Evil 7 is one of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had. Namely because, and Toby did this as well. Toby played it at my house. I have PlayStation VR and played the whole game in virtual reality. And after I played it in virtual reality, I got Toby to play it all the way through in virtual reality, and I watched him. And my girlfriend Katie is in chat, and she's been spamming Resident Evil 7 with hearts, and I also did the same to her. I watched her play it because it's entertaining enough playing it, but also entertaining, watching other people playing it and seeing their experiences.
I haven't had a great chance to do that, but I have had people over and each time set them up with an account and sat them down and just wanted to watch them. Now, I don't have a VR headset, but every time I'm just there, just like, this is good, but I wish you were playing it in VR. But yeah, I mean, I felt physically sick playing that game. Too long, and I don't know if that's a VR thing or whether that's just a horror thing, but I had to take the headset off and go, this is an experience.
I mean,
this is not just a video game. This is an experience.
Resident Evil 4 was always one of my favorite games of all time, ever since I first played it. And I didn't think any Resident Evil game would possibly top that, especially as they seemed to get worse and worse after 4. But 7 was clearly a reboot, and like, it's just the fact that you've got the VR headset on. Someone jumping out at you on a screen is very different to someone jumping out right in front of your eyes, right? And the best you can do is look away and you're still in the room. And it's not even just jump scares. It's the constant atmosphere, how dingy the house is. And,
it's the stress. I remember breaking out of the door in that game. There's a point. There's the main house, and then there's the garden house, and whatever. And I broke out of the main house, and I went, "Oh my god! Okay, I'm free!" And then I'm like, "Why can't I?" And there's obviously a digital wall where the bushes around the house are, and I'm just there like, they're just bushes. Let me out. I don't care. I don't want to save my fiance. Just let me leave. I don't care. And there's that stress as well. There's obviously Resident Evil, zombies. There's a lot of characters. Someone comes back from the dead a couple of times. You get into those fights. You shoot this dude, and I remember several times just going, "Stay dead." And what's great about it is that the game developers clearly got it because then there's one point where Ethan, the character you play, says after the third or fourth time, "Okay, just stay dead this time." It's in the, and they're very aware.
It's just, again, I wouldn't call it a perfect game like Mario Odyssey, but definitely had very, very strong sort of emotional response to it. Terrifying all the way through. One of the first, there aren't many jump scares in the game, like actual jump scares, maybe 5 or 6, but one of the first ones that really got to me. I was just quietly scared until this point, but I actually, when this jump scare happened out loud, went, "Oh!" And I wasn't my own in the room. Like, it was kind of weird. And then I watched Toby get to the same point, and he also reacted to that point. His was a little bit more severe than mine, but
do you know there's a bit of cut content? I was watching a Did You Know kind of thing, like 107 facts about Resident Evil. Bit of cut content was the zombie dogs from Resi 1. Can you imagine in VR dealing with dogs? Zombified dogs? How terrifying would that have been?
The other thing is about that game is VR itself, right? Like, I had PlayStation VR almost since it came out, and it was sort of just a tech demo up until Resident Evil. Like, there were lots of these fun little ways you could experiment and play with it, and it's like, oh, this is great for 20 minutes, and then it's like, well, I want to actually play a proper game. And I was really looking forward to Resident Evil 7, not only because I do love the franchise, but to actually have a full game that you can play in VR. And turns out, VR suits horror very, very well.
It does. It makes sense. I did, as you know, drama in college, and we learned about this guy, Artaud. And Artaud's whole deal was about attacking the senses. And cinema was a bit before his time, but people said, oh, the cinema is a very Artaudian kind of performance thing, because it's in your face, and it's closer than theater is, And VR is even closer than that. It's the sound, the visual, and horror just suits it. Horror suits it so well. It's this attack on the senses that is designed to give you, as Arto, his whole thing was, give you an experience at the theater was his thing.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing. You're getting given an experience to your body. It's not just a case of passively being spoon-fed the story. It's engaging.
And the feeling
something that's horrifying.
The feeling of relief when you like made it into a safe room. Because like in Resident Evil, you get to a safe room where you can save the game and sort of fiddle with your items and things. And as soon as you get into the safe room, it starts playing safe room music, which is very subtle and sort of in the background. But instantly, at least for me, it was like, oh, you know, I've lost your face cam. Oh, there you go, it's back.
It's okay.
And it's just always such a huge relief. There was one time where I logged in. It was like, I'd turn the game on. It was like 11 at night, and I thought, right, I'm gonna brave through. I'm gonna play at least another hour. And I left the safe room. And then I went back in, took the headset off, and went to bed because I was just too scared to go any further.
Yeah. Sorry, there was a little tech issue there. Yeah. No. I mean, I got that very same thing where I was just absolutely terrified to at some points, and there was just needing that breather, as we said. But yeah, I guess we'll move on to final game now, which is
the best game of 2017.
It was PUBG. It wasn't PUBG. It's not PUBG. It was the other one. the other PUBG.
Wow, it's
not the better one.
Do you know what? We're getting to the point now, I think, where it's finally being widely accepted that actually PUBG is the other one, and Fortnite Battle Royale
is the main one.
Is the Battle Royale to beat?
Yeah, and Fortnite is, of course, the game we're talking about. I mean, wow, what a time-consuming pile of fun. And it's one of those things where, again, it's like, you don't really, I mean, it's got seasons, right? So your progress kind of gets erased after about 100 to 300 days or whatever it is. No, 100 days. And it's not about getting achievements. It's not about progress. It's just about having fun. That is what the game is about. It's just go on, have a blast. See you again tomorrow. Same time for more, you know? See you in a couple hours.
I'm playing it a lot every day at the moment, just squadding up with anyone who I can. Like, we've got a load of friends online that play it on PC together. You play it on Xbox, but whenever you come over to my place, like, because I refuse to use a
horribly worse experience on Xbox, but I do not have a gaming PC. That's a future endeavor.
I get my gaming laptop and I plug it into one of my monitors, and I play on the monitor next to it. I give you a controller to, you know, pacify you like the toddler you are, and I play on mouse and keyboard. And we have a blast playing duos together.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just fun. It's that same thing with Halo Wars where there's that level of coordination, and you've got to be reactive to what's going on and be alert and kind of go, okay, there's someone at, you know, you shout out a number, there's someone at 300 degrees west or whatever, they're building, you can see them building in the distance. Do we engage? Do we not engage? What's our health like? Are we prepared? I'm carrying these items, you're carrying those items. If you get hit, do you have a way of recovering your health? Do we have enough resources? And the great thing I think that really differentiates it from PUBG is the building mechanic, which is not just some side thing that you shouldn't touch because it's scary.
Which is what some people like to treat it like. Like FPS fans that come in, they're like, there's building? Oh, I don't want to get into that. I just want to shoot people. But
you just want to shoot people. Well, prepare to shoot walls, because that's what people will build. That's what you'll be shooting. Because, you know, building, I mean, is very much at the heart of that game. And one of the steep lessons, I think probably the lesson that differentiates those who play it to those who have an active interest and are good at it, or at least, you know, okay at it, is if you're being shot, build a wall. It takes a third of a second to get that wall up, and you've got defense all of a sudden, and you can take control of the battle. And so often will you run in thinking, I've got advantage. You don't know how much health your opponent's got. Build a damn wall. It's a defense. Build a staircase onto it, and you've got, you know, advantage.
In real terms, the way it's turned out with the whole PUBG versus Fortnite debate, it's kind of silly because they are very different games, although they seem like clones of one another in the fact that you jump in, you know, from the sky and glide.
And PUBG is still incredibly popular. Like, that's, you know, it's not, you know, everything that blows up plateaus, you know, Clean Prince Gaming just a video on this. I was watching half of it before that we came live, and he was just saying, like, I mean, you think like Pokemon Go, loads of people still play the game. The game is still successful, but of course it's not as popular as it was the moment it came out because everyone was talking about it. But PUBG's very much the same.
But like one is meant for a very specific sort of. I don't mean this in a negative way, but a sort of try-hard audience. If you want a serious, gritty military shooter with your realistic guns and things, but Fortnite is equally high skill capped, at least in my opinion, because
it's just for those of us who enjoy fun.
But like, the way you can outmaneuver each other with buildings. I mean, Toby, you've seen like the way I get when I'm playing on mouse and keyboard, spamming walls everywhere, and just trying to outmaneuver people that way. And there really is a lot to the game, and although the shooting mechanics might not be as real, there's really a lot to it. And personally, I much prefer to play a colorful game that's more about fun, because it's sort of an escape from reality, right?
Do you know what? That's what I always said back in the days of the Halo versus Call of Duty, Halo 3 versus Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Yeah, that's right.
And I always said to people, I mean, not that I ever would, but I could, exist in a war zone and be a soldier, right? But what I can't do is go to space and fight aliens and be a Spartan super soldier. Yeah. I think I prefer one over the other. I think also an advantage that Fortnite has, and I don't know if you've seen the Honest trailer yet, Dan, but they say they've just done an Honest trailer for Fortnite, and in it they say it's pretty hard to compete with a price tag that is free. You can't challenge that. Fortnite is free. PUBG costs money.
I mean, really, the BR is just an advert for the actual paid game of Fortnite, which is a single player, like I think, sort of a tower defense game type thing, open world and stuff.
But no one plays it. I don't play it. I don't know who plays it.
To be quite honest, I know a lot of people that has. Like the BR did sell it to people. Like people played the game and said, "I'd quite like to experience what single player's like here," and I've only heard good things about it.
I mean, the other thing is as well, that experience doesn't cost a lot of money, that single experience, nor does the many attachments and passes and DLC that or cosmetics that you can get for it. We have the same philosophy, I think, on DLC, which is when you're playing a free game like Fortnite or Hearthstone and you buy cosmetic items that cost a certain amount of money, if you're doing that because you're sinking just hours and hours into the game, you've got to think of it value to money kind of deal. Like, if the game's free, okay, it's great to have it for free, but if you do put some money towards it, you're only helping out the developers.
I don't think I told you this yet, Toby, and you're gonna be able to judge me live on stream. But I dropped my first £80 into the game the other day. I bought the big bundle of V-Bucks, right? But stay with me here, okay?
What? Okay.
I've played over 200 hours of Fortnite.
Okay.
How many AAA titles that I've like physically spent money on and bought for maybe 40, 50 bucks have I spent that much time playing? I don't doubt that you've already had your value out of the game for that much money. And despite the argument I was just making, there is a line where just because you can put some money into it doesn't mean you what? £80 of cosmetic looking items? Well, yeah, I mean, it's okay. So again, the reason you go straight in and you spend the 80 is because the more you spend at once, like the better value for money you get. Obviously, the biggest bundle has the most free additional stuff with it.
You know what? That's kind of weird. That's like me buying Pokemon for free and then just for the character customization. Paying £80.
Yeah, sort of. But like, I don't know. It's fun, and like again, the people I play with, have their cool costumes and things as well, and it's just fun, And actually, if you read chat right now, there are a few people indelible.
I've done it. I think I spent about £40 to £60 on the iPhone game, on the Android the game, Fallout Shelter when that came out. I don't even have that save anymore. I spent a ton of money on that.
There you go.
I've done it before.
Raven HS in chat, literally the namesake of the Year of the Raven in Hearthstone, which he will not let any of us forget. Says just divide the number of hours played by the amount of money you spent, and it really doesn't end up to be that much.
And
again, like you said, there's supporting the developer as well.
That's an interesting way of looking at goods in general. Like we've had the discussion about phones before, where you said, Toby, you should get an expensive phone. You work from your phone, you're attached to your phone, you're checking your phone every 5 seconds of the day. It's basically part of your body. no matter how much you spend on your phone, it's pretty much you're never gonna hit the value of what you get out of owning a phone that works and that is good and that does everything you need it to do whenever you need it to do. Which is really interesting point of thinking about it, and it applies the same to the gaming where
obviously do it healthily. Like if you're gonna, you don't just jump into a game of play one game of Fortnite and then say, oh, okay, here's $500, and then play one more game and then go, actually, I don't like this. Like,
no, it's almost like you put in the hours first and then pay for it after.
But for example, when it came out, I bought Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Okay, that cost something like £50. I played it for 1 hour, then decided I didn't like it. What's better value for money, right? Like the money I spent on that or the money I've spent on Fortnite.
Yeah.
And then
I totally hear you. I totally hear you. Yeah.
Anyways, that wraps it up though. So Fortnite Battle Royale, both of our favorite games of 2017.
I think so. And I think that makes for a pretty natural way for this first episode to begin coming to a close. Do you want to do the challenge thing? Yay or nay?
The challenge thing. Well, okay, so we were talking about this, and we'd like to, at least one of us, once a week, play something new so that we can talk about playing something new each week on the podcast. And actually, I literally just bought a game like an hour before going.
Oh, what did you get? What did you get?
So we may as well use that. I bought Into the Breach, which is you've heard of FTL, right? Faster Than Light.
No, yes, I've heard of it. Yeah,
it's quite. I mean, it's on tablets and things now as well. It's quite a cheap game on Steam, but it's like a micromanaged game. You're in a ship and you control all the little men in the ship and send them to different rooms, and you control your ship's weapons and shields and things. And it's a roguelike, which means when you die, you start completely from scratch. And you fly from planet to planet and on this mission to stop the Empire from doing whatever.
Yeah.
If you lose a member of your crew, he's dead for good, and then you lose your ship, you start again. And it's just a lot of fun. It takes a long time to sort of learn and get into it. Into the Breach is sort of a spiritual successor. It's made by the same people, but it's a board game. So like, you go from place to place, and you actually have a board, and you control 3 mechs, and there's however many enemies, and you have to like win the fight, and then you go on to the next stage, and then you keep going. And yeah, so I bought that today, and I'll have a go with that, and hopefully I'll be able to talk about that.
Have something to report back for next week and to talk about. Well, thank you. I guess for those of you who have joined us in the live show, we're going to be moving on to the post show, which is exclusively for those of you listening live. And to those of you who are listening on demand, we stream this live at 7 p.m. GMT, that's UK time, on a Wednesday over on twitch.tv/BirdkeeperToby. That's my Twitch stream. And thank you for joining us for hopefully podcast history as episode 1 goes down. We're going to have, feel free to tweet your questions at any point of the week. I'm at BirdkeeperToby on Twitter.
Yeah, we should get you to tag both of us, right? I'm at FalconeHS. You should tweet at both of us, and we should have a hashtag as well.
Hashtag Objection Podcast. The Objection Podcast. The Objection Podcast, I guess. Does that work?
Sure.
Does that work?
What about hashtag TOP? There's probably already a big hashtag for that. I don't know.
That probably sounds something.
We'll work that out and tweet about it. But yeah, absolutely. Tweet us your questions. I guess we can answer a couple of tweeted questions in the post part of the podcast, and then we can answer
we can
a bunch more of them in the post show, and questions from Twitch chat.
We look forward to seeing what this podcast is going to become. I think it's going to largely be informed by future feedback from you, as well as what we're enjoying. I think in the future, we'll have topics that we want to talk about, but we'll also just talk about whatever's been going on.
We're just doing it as a bit of fun, basically we're really just having a chat. Like this is Toby and me spend a lot of time together. Like we hang out every week. We talk about games, we talk about films and things. We just figure we'll have the same conversation on stream and see if you guys enjoy it
and have fun. And I guess we will now join those of you who are with us live in the post show, and to everyone else who is listening, thank you for tuning in. And see you next week.